Your brain's superpower. What if I told you that your brain has a secret architectural power, a dormant ability to remember almost anything? This isn't science fiction. It's a 2,500-year-old technique called the memory palace. Today, we unlock this superpower for you. The 5-minute quick start. Forget theory. Let's build your first palace right now. This is the most important part of the video, your first step to a better memory. Pay close attention. This is the practical guide you've been looking for. What is the absolute first step someone should take after this interview? Pick one room in your house, just one, and choose 5 simple facts or items you want to remember. Now, create a single, vivid, and ridiculous image for each item and place it in a distinct location in that room. That's it. Your first palace is built, and your journey has begun. How do you choose the right mental space to build your palace in? You're looking for a place that feels as real in your mind as it does in the physical world, a place your feet could trace in the dark. It should be rich with detail and personal meaning, like your grandmother's kitchen or your first apartment. The key is deep familiarity, as this provides the unshakable foundation upon which all memories will be built. What is the process of placing knowledge objects within this mental space? Think of yourself as a curator of your own museum, placing priceless artifacts in a familiar gallery. To remember the year 1492, you might imagine a four-masted ship crashing through your front door, with a giant, nine-shaped sail and 2 swans swimming in the wreckage. You don't just store the data, you create a whimsical scene that your mind can't possibly ignore. Why are bizarre and emotional images so much more effective than logical ones? Our brains are fundamentally wired for survival, and survival is all about emotion and novelty. A logical image is like a gray rock on a path full of gray rocks. It's invisible and instantly forgotten. But a bizarre, emotional image, like a sad elephant crying spaghetti tears on your bed, is a roaring lion that your mind is biologically programmed to never forget. What is the most common mistake people make when starting out? The most common mistake is trying to build a skyscraper on day one, creating images that are either too vague or too cluttered. It's like walking into a room so filled with junk that you can't identify a single object. Your mind experiences the same sensory overload. The key is to start with clear, simple, and distinct images, 1 or 2 powerful symbols per location, not an entire movie set. Proof it's not magic. Still skeptical? Let's look at the undeniable proof from brain scans to real-world memory masters. This isn't just a clever trick. It's a fundamental rewiring of the human brain. The evidence will shock you. How did brain scans change our understanding of what happens inside the mind of a memory champion? When neuroscientists looked inside a memory champion's brain, they didn't find a bigger engine. They found a master mapmaker at work. An average person's brain activity for memory is like a single flickering light bulb, but Nimanis' brain lights up like a city grid, with the hippocampus acting as a central, bustling train station. It's the difference between a footpath and a fully interconnected subway system, all thanks to their use of spatial memory. Who is a memory athlete that personally inspires you? A man named Johannes Mallow is a true artist of memory, a testament to the power of a well-built palace. He famously memorized 1,080 binary digits in just 5 minutes by transforming them into a series of vivid images he had previously stored in his mental home. It's a stunning example of turning abstract data into a rapid, visual journey. How did Alex Mullen use this technique to help his grandmother? It's a beautiful story of empowerment, where he taught his grandmother to remember a shopping list by placing items in her own home. She was astonished when she recalled most of the words on her very first try, a moment that was less about memory and more about rediscovering her own cognitive confidence. It showed that this technique is not just for champions. It's a fundamental human skill accessible to everyone. What kind of results did a Reddit user report from using this technique? One user on Reddit shared a mind-blowing personal experiment after studying for a psychology exam. Using traditional methods, they retained about 40% of the material after 1 week. But by using the memory palace, their retention shot up to an incredible 90%, a powerful anecdote that speaks volumes about the technique's practical effectiveness. Level up your mind. You built your first room. Now, let's upgrade you from an apprentice to a master architect. These pro techniques are the key to memorizing entire subjects, not just shopping lists. How does story linking transform static images into a memorable journey? Isolated images are like disconnected dots, easily lost, but a story is the line that connects them into a constellation. For shopping list, you might imagine a loaf of bread wearing your shoes, which then kicks a carton of milk, which spills onto a crying block of cheese. Story linking creates a narrative chain reaction, where recalling one image automatically triggers the next in a seamless, memorable flow. How do you visualize something as abstract as numbers or formulas? Abstract concepts are like ghosts. You can't grab onto them until you give them a body. For the formula E equals mc squared, you could picture an elephant stomping on a mouse that squeaks the letter C twice. It's about translating the cold language of math and science into the warm, vibrant language of visual storytelling. And how does the major system help in this process? The major system is a beautiful phonetic code, a secret decoder ring that turns meaningless numbers into tangible objects. Each digit from 0 to 9 is assigned a consonant sound. So a number like 321 becomes the sounds in, which you can then shape into a word like mint or manatee. It's a powerful tool for creating the very images you place within your palace, transforming numbers into a cast of characters. What is the branching technique for organizing complex subjects? Imagine your main palace is a tree trunk, representing a core subject like animals. The branching technique is like growing major limbs for categories like mammals or insects, and from those, smaller branches for primates or beetles. Each branch is a subpalace, a new wing of your mental museum dedicated to a specific, detailed topic. Why is spaced repetition the key to making these memories permanent? Think of a new memory as a faint path you've traced in a dense forest. Spaced repetition is like walking that same path again and again, not obsessively every hour, but at specific, increasing intervals. Each visit clears more brush, deepens the trail, and signals to your brain that this path is important until it becomes a permanent, well-trodden highway. How do you scale your palace from a single room to an entire city? You start with your house, then you link it to your neighbor's house, and then the whole street becomes a district in your mental city. The key is to create logical pathways and distinct zones. So you might use a park as the hub for history and a library for science. It's a methodical expansion, like a city planner designing a new capital, ensuring every street and landmark has a clear purpose. The future of memory. You've learned the ancient art, but what happens when it merges with futuristic technology? This is where your inner architect meets the digital world. The possibilities are limitless. How is augmented reality changing the game for memory palaces? Imagine putting on a pair of glasses and seeing your mental images floating in the real world, right where you place them. Augmented reality will allow you to physically walk through your palace, with digital ghosts of your knowledge objects appearing on your real furniture. It transforms learning from a purely internal process into a fully immersive, interactive experience. How does adaptive VR with EEG create a hyper-personalized learning environment? This is where it gets truly futuristic. Imagine a learning environment that reads your mind. An EEG headset monitors your brain waves for signs of focus or distraction, and the adaptive VR system changes the environment in real time to keep you in a state of flow. If your mind wanders, the virtual world might simplify itself or introduce a subtle sound to gently guide your attention back. Can you use virtual worlds from video games as memory palaces? Absolutely, and it's a wonderfully effective strategy, especially for those who find it hard to visualize. A student learning anatomy once used the intricate map of the game Elden Ring as their palace, placing information about the nervous system in the dark catacombs and muscles in the open fields. It leverages a pre-built, highly detailed virtual world as a ready-made and engaging memory palace. What does a collaborative, gamified memory palace look like? Picture a vast, shared library in virtual reality, like a grand hall from Harry Potter, where teams of students build entire wings together. They could compete to build the most memorable room for a topic, earning points for creativity and accuracy, turning study into an engaging, multiplayer game. This social learning approach leverages collaboration and gamification to make the process more powerful and fun. Beyond memorization, this technique does more than just improve your recall. It fundamentally changes how you think. These are the surprising side effects of building a memory palace. It's about becoming a clearer, more creative thinker. What is the most surprising benefit you have personally experienced from using a memory palace? The most surprising benefit wasn't just remembering facts. It was the sudden realization that my own mind was a place I could explore and design. It stopped being a noisy, chaotic space and became a quiet, organized gallery of my own creation. This brought a sense of mental clarity and peace that I had never expected. Can this technique improve creativity as well as memory? Creativity is born from connecting the seemingly unconnected, and a memory palace is a master connector. When you place diverse ideas in different rooms of the same house, you start to see surprising relationships and overlaps you never would have noticed otherwise. It's like hosting a dinner party for all your knowledge, where new and brilliant conversations spark between subjects. What is the ultimate potential of mastering this technique? Mastering this technique is like being handed a universal key that can unlock any subject you wish to learn. Imagine wanting to understand quantum physics and being able to build a mental museum where each room explains a different principle through interactive, unforgettable stories. It's the ultimate tool for lifelong learning and intellectual exploration. How can this technique help us master any complex topic? Because the memory palace isn't just a filing system, it's a framework for understanding. It gives you a mental scaffold upon which you can hang any new piece of knowledge, no matter how complex. This transforms learning from a frustrating struggle into a creative act of building, giving you the confidence to tackle any topic with ease and depth. The ancient genius. Now that you know how to use it, let's journey back in time. Where did this incredible technique come from? The story behind it is as fascinating as the method itself. What exactly is this memory palace? And why has it been a secret weapon for millennia? Imagine your mind is a library, but instead of a card catalog, you have the physical layout of your childhood home. Each piece of information isn't just a dusty fact. It's a vivid object you placed on a shelf, under a pillow, or inside the cookie jar. This method of loci transforms abstract data into a spatial journey, turning your memory from a filing cabinet into a living, breathing museum. Who were the pioneers that scientifically validated this ancient technique? One of the great figures was Gordon Bower, who showed just how powerfully our brains link images to places. He'd have people imagine bizarre things, like a giant tomato sitting on a chair, and found the association was almost impossible to break. It proved that our minds don't think in text. They think in sensory experiences and wild, unforgettable pictures. Real-world mastery. Theory is great, but where is this being used right now? From medical schools to high schools, people are using this to get ahead. These real-world examples show its practical power. Stethoscope: how are medical students using this to master complex subjects like anatomy? They don't just read textbooks. They build the subject of anatomy into a memory palace inside their own minds. They might place the bones of the hand on their own fingers or trace the circulatory system along the hallways of their own house. This transforms dry, academic information into a kinesthetic and spatial experience, making it stick in a way that rote memorization never could. Is this something that can be taught to high school students? It's not only possible, it's becoming a competitive mental sport in places like Hershey, Pennsylvania. Students, they're trained daily, competing in teams to perform incredible memory feats, turning what could be a tedious task into an exciting and collaborative discipline. They are living proof that the foundations of memory mastery can be laid at any age. Final secrets to success. You have the keys, but mastery is a journey. Here are the final secrets to ensure your skills last a lifetime. This is how you maintain and grow your new superpower. How important is it to experiment with a personal, humorous style? Using a generic, logical image is like trying to cook a gourmet meal with just salt. It will be bland and forgettable. Your personal sense of humor, your emotions, your unique life experiences, these are the secret spices that make an image unforgettable to you. A memory palace should be a deeply personal and eccentric creation that is the source of its power. What role does daily practice play in this journey? Daily practice is like watering a plant. It doesn't need to be a flood, just a consistent sprinkle. Spending even 5 minutes a day walking through your palace, reinforcing the images, is exponentially more powerful than a single multi-hour cram session. It's this consistent, gentle reinforcement that tells your brain these memories are keepers. How does physical activity enhance the power of the memory palace? Think of your brain as a garden and physical activity as the rain and sunlight that make it flourish. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, releases chemicals that promote the growth of new neurons, and sharpens your focus. A healthy body cultivates a fertile mind, making the soil of your memory palace richer and more receptive to new information. Can you combine the memory palace with other mnemonic tricks? Combining techniques is like assembling a team of superheroes, each with a unique power. The memory palace is your architect, designing the structure, while the peg word system, which links numbers to rhyming words, can be your gadget master. This technique's synergy creates a multi-layered system that is far more robust and flexible than any single method used alone. What is a powerful example of such a combination? To remember a list of elements, I once used my apartment as the palace. At the door, using the peg word, one is a bun. I pictured a giant, exploding hydrogen-filled bun. Then, for two is a shoe. I imagined a helium-filled shoe floating to my living room ceiling, creating a vivid, linked story that made the first two elements of the periodic table unforgettable. Can you really build a palace for time itself? You can absolutely build a palace for time by treating it as a physical path, a journey you can walk. To learn the kings of England, you might place a statue of each monarch along a familiar road, with their surroundings reflecting their era. Perhaps one is rusty and ancient while another is gleaming and new. A time palace allows you to stroll through history as if it were a park, observing events in their correct sequence. How can 3D modeling help in constructing a more effective palace? Using a tool like Blender or SketchUp is like being a divine architect with unlimited resources, allowing you to build the perfect palace from scratch. You can design rooms specifically for certain subjects, create impossible architecture that is inherently more memorable, and ensure the layout is perfectly optimized for recall. It's the difference between finding a location and constructing the ideal mental world for your thoughts. What was the goal of MIT's Nevermind project? The Nevermind project was a fascinating attempt to create a digital second brain that never forgets. Think of it as an automatic life logging system that uses AI to create a searchable, augmented memory of your experiences. Its goal was to offload the burden of mundane memory, freeing up your cognitive resources for deeper thinking and creativity.